And now to start, what I'm going to go ahead and do first is the underbody of the car. I'm going to basically, since this is where most of the grime is going to be concentrated on the car, I'm going to start here. So first things first, you unscrew your truck and you just remove it. We'll weather this separately later. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up a little bit of our black. And I'm actually just going to take a brush and take this directly out of the cap. Again, you don't really need too much black with this. If anyone's wondering, you know, it's pretty overpowering color, so you kind of got to go easy on it. And then I have my earth brown, and I'm just going to get a little bit of that. It really doesn't take that much to weather this car, or a car like this, because the color is pretty powerful. And I'm going to be doing dry brushing for this too, instead of, say, blabbering on a whole bunch of paint or something. So I'm going to take a little bit of this black and I'm just going to slowly mix it together with some earth brown real quick. And I'm going for a slightly darker shade here. Now what you do is you take a piece of napkin like this and you just start to kind of wipe some of the grimy paint off. And I just go over the bolster area first, like this. If I can do this without my arm in the camera or anything. You just gotta be really careful when working around these pipes. That's the big thing. Because if you hit one of these, or these coupler bars up front or anything like that, you're not in good shape, because you're gonna actually break those off real easy. So you gotta be really careful when you go around those areas. So you can see I'm just doing a base coat here, but we'll go back in detail with this whole area later. I'm just putting the base coat of weathering around where it's going to be the dirtiest. And don't forget to hit the little corners here, especially around the stirrups, where it's going to get a little bit of a kick up, and then hit the ends too. And then we'll work that up around and on the front of the tank as well. Now this area is probably the worst on the car because of this coupler bar here. This is like the most fragile detail on the entire model, is this coupler bar here. I've broken these off before weathering the car, so you just got to really be careful. And then we'll go ahead and focus on the sides and just kind of work it in these little corners here and everything. Don't forget to get under here and just kind of work it in really carefully. Get a little more paint, dry brush it, and now I'm going to focus on the area where the kickup would be, here and on the ends, and we're going to basically work it up over and then onto the ends or the heads of the car, and we'll streak it up in a minute. So we'll go ahead and start kind of packing this on. And this is actually pretty realistic for kickup because it really actually just looks like that. It's kind of like a misty color, kind of like that. It just is spray, that's all it is, so no real secrets there. Get the other end. Just carefully work it around those pipes. And then I'm just going to kind of streak it down a little and make it look like maybe a little sprayed around a bit. I'm going to go over these areas again, and then I'm going to try to carefully work it into these corners here and slowly start working it around the head of the car like this. You can see the pipe just came loose there. That's actually not connected to anything, this one here. I don't know why, but it's not. Most of these pipes are connected with like little drilled holes in the die-cast frames here, but this one, and I think this one here, they're not connected to anything, so don't be concerned if you see those wobbling around. It's the ones like deeper down that are actually connected, but it's these ones, the ones that are loose, you can actually still break off pretty easily, so you got to be careful with those. I'm actually going to straighten it back up again. Just continue to hit this area. Alright, so now that we've gotten the front of the car done, we're going to go ahead and move on to the little area around the hatch here at the bottom. We're just going to hit that a little bit. A little bit of grime around there. And I'm being very careful right now. I'm just patting the brush on right now. I'm not smacking it on there or anything. Just trying to be extremely careful around these etched metal pieces. So we'll go back and do some detail weathering in a minute, and I'll go ahead and work on the other bolster. Alright, so here's the car now. I've done both ends of the car, around the bolsters, around the coupler boxes and everything. And you can see we got that nice base coat of kind of kick-up spray. And we're going to go ahead and detail weather this now with a bit more earth brown. And this is one of those cars where you actually do a little detail weathering early. Since we're on the bottom of the car, I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. So I'm going to zoom in here and try to get a good view of this. And I'm going to take my fine brush, and I don't want to use the stuff over on my paper paint-wise because I want to save that for the actual weathering. So I'm going to just take the cap off of my paint bottle. What I'm going to do is basically, first I'm going to take my truck here and get a little reference. So now I'm going to basically try to do the heavier spray with just a light brush application here. With a little bit of that rust color, where maybe a little bit of actual corrosion starting. And it's usually going to be centered around where the actual direct path of the kickup is coming up. So you see I'm building it up in layers too. That way I don't do it too heavy. If you do it too heavy, you can end up screwing something up by accident. So it's better in this case to go too little and then build it up in layers. That's actually the best way to do this here. And we're going to just go ahead and get a little bit of it started on the ends here as well. Just a little. Get this area up here. And we'll get this other end here. And then slowly start to work it up. We're going to hit the other end real quick. Actually going to go a little heavier on this side. And then don't forget to get the walkways too in this little area around the pipes where it's also going to be kind of spraying up. Sorry about that. Okay, get it on the walkway too. Just like that. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod real quick so I can show this to you. So you can see what I'm doing. That's what we're trying to achieve with this, is the kick up. So we'll go ahead and do this to this part here, and I'll do a little more detail weathering around this little hatch there, and we'll go ahead and move on to another section. Now we've gotten the bottom of the car weathered, and again I'm going to take a little bit of my earth brown and black mixture, a little bit of brown, and we're going to go ahead and dry brush this. And again, I'm being very careful not to hit these details, so I'm just going to take my time with this. And you're just focusing on the areas where the wheels are going to be spraying that kick up, the grime from the rails and stuff upwards. So it's really the biggest area you're focusing on. Getting around the coupler box, get a little bit up on the walkways, and then down onto these stirrups. And now the hardest part is getting around this coupler bar. You gotta be very, very careful. It's very, very fragile, so I don't really want to break it off. Get around this area here. Gotta clean off this hazmat placard that got a little grime on it. These usually stay pretty clean too, by on just a little side note. So you generally want to try to keep those clean. Get a little bit here at the top. around the railings, kind of work it into these corners. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and move on to the spray that usually accumulates on the ends of these cars. So I'm going to adjust the camera here, and now we're going to try to focus in on this kickup spray. So again, I'm going to take my fine brush, and we're going to start in this corner here. Now I already know the wheel gauge on these cars, so I've done a few of these, but at this point, so I kind of know where to go for. So you just basically start with a base coat of rust at the bottom and kind of work it up like this. You can see very slowly. And then you proceed to go up like this. And then kind of fan it out as you get more towards the top like this, and then kind of try to do a little spray streak like that. And then you kind of go down like this, and you start kind of working it up like that, so it fans out a little more realistically, rather than being just like a line or something. So that's the base for that streak, and then you come on with a little bit heavier coat like this, and you start working it up like this. So we're going to try to do a few little spots here too. So I'll go ahead and repeat that for over here, and we'll come back and I'll actually do the other end too to save time, but this will just give you an idea of what we're doing. Alright, and here's the kick up now. You can see we got that done on both sides. So it looks really good. I kind of was, as you saw, was kind of trying to mix a bit of splotch technique and then kind of trying to create some of the little spots. So that's looking really good. We're going to go ahead and repeat this on the other end of the car, and then we'll focus on the main body of the car. Alright, so now we've got the actual weathering of the car done on the ends, and here's the other end real quick. You can see all that nice kick-up effect, all the grime on the walkways, around the areas and the pipes and stuff. It's important to hit all those areas, but on the ends here, where you have all the brake rigging and such, it can be a little more tricky, and you just got to take your time with this end, with all this detail on the way, to carefully weather it so you don't break anything off. So we'll go ahead and move on to the sides now. And basically what I'm going to do is I'll move a few things out of the way here. I'm going to take a tool like this. I was going to do it like this. I just am really careful when I do this though, so I don't break anything. And I just set the car down like this. That way it's basically flat and I can just work on it like this. So the area I'm going to be focusing on the most on this car is going to be around the top of the car. Kind of streaking down, a little bit of acid spill to kind of try to blend it in with the rest of my cars. Another thing I should note is that I did gloss or dull coat this car before I weathered it. That way I could, the weathering would have more tooth so it would stay in place. Like I mentioned with the glossier cars like that, sometimes acrylic weathering can kind of chip off. So it's good to have a dull coat base when you weather a car like this where it's all glossy. That way the weathering sticks a little bit better. So let's go ahead and move on to the top of the car here, and we'll work on that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fine brush with a little bit of our earth brown and black mixture. I'm going to try to get at the very top of this and kind of try to work it in. Get at the very top and then we'll kind of try to start working it down. But at this point I'm just kind of trying to work around these little areas here at the top, and we're going to go ahead and kind of try to streak it down very softly like this. walkways too, don't forget that. Just be careful around the ladder so you don't break a piece off or anything like that. But, you know, just nice and slowly. They just kind of start building it up in layers. Get a little more paint. Mix it with our black. I'm going to go ahead and hit the bottom of the ladder here, just a little bit. I'm actually going to switch to my bigger brush for this part, hitting the bottom railings. Mix it with a little more black. I'll go ahead and dry brush seal that. Just like that. Very subtle, and we're going to go ahead and come back after we get the rest of the car body done, and we're going to do our little bit of detail weathering with our corrosion color, which we'll make in a minute. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to probably add a few little rust patches here and there, a few little rust spots. So I'll show you that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to put this car back up like this. I'm going to pull her out, and I'm going to focus in on really the top area. So I'll take my fine brush again, get my rust, and I'm going to just kind of hit random areas at a time. Especially around the tops is where most of the rust is going to kind of accumulate. You can see I'm trying to focus on the seams of the car and spreading it out just a little bit. I'm going to do a few little rust spots, very small rust spots here and there. I don't want this to look too heavy, but just in little areas, you know. Just to give another sense of weathering. I'm just being really careful. Go ahead and hit the top with a little bit of patchy rust. So you can see that's what we're kind of trying to go for. So hit this one real quick and just kind of, there we go. Now basically that's what we're trying to go for. You know, not too heavy weathering, but still little areas and patches where there's a little corrosion, stuff like that, to try to give it a little age. So we'll repeat this on the other side, and then we'll hit the tops here around the railings, and then we'll work on our corrosion effects. So we'll go ahead and move on. And now for the top, again I'm going to dry brush this. I'm going to get a little more over brown than black like before. Kind of trying to make a more rustic color on the top here. So go ahead and hit these the walkways here, and then the area around the hatches where it's gonna, most of the grime's gonna be concentrated basically. So just go across these areas like this. Again, being careful not to damage anything. Just really lightly going over it. I'm gonna try to work around the tops of these railings, inside and out. And then I'm gonna work base coat of grime around the hatch here, as you can see. I'm trying to work it down just a little bit, and then at the top and around the hatch. Just like that, as you can see. Now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of my rust again, and then hit these railings a little more heavily with some rust at the top, representing the areas where there might have been a lot more hand contact, kind of chipping of paint, a little bit more deterioration at the top of the railings like this. Little details like this do enhance quite a bit the look of the freight car, especially if you do it like this and you take your time. It really does look good. And I'm gonna flip over to the other side real quick. Try to get this in the camera position here. I'm gonna actually take a little bit of this rust and kind of work it around these little pieces here. Try to simulate a little rust. And at the top, kind of like this. Around this little hatch, and at the bottom one too. And then I'm kind of build a bit of rust around this little tread plate here, and then kind of work it out just slightly, and then kind of go around the areas of the walkways, just really roughly like that. And then again on this side. Now the one last thing I'm going to do to enhance the detail at the top of this car is first I'm going to take my highlights and hit the hatch just real quick to kind of make it look a little dusty. But here's what I'm going to do to really enhance it. A lot of times acid will have, or when it dries, will have this like a textured corrosion. So to make this effect, I'm going to use a little baking soda, and I'm going to take a little bit of fresh paint. I'm going to hit these areas, and while the paint is still wet, I'm going to take a little bit of baking soda and put it on. Just like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow it off real quick. Put it back on the trucks. And if you can see that, what I try to do is make that acid erosion at the top. Try to zoom in on that texture. I know it's kind of hard here. There we go. If you can see that texture, that's what I'm trying to achieve here. So that looks really cool. And we'll go ahead and create the corrosion. What I got here on a little piece of paper is a little bit of our orange and a little bit of my earth brown, and what we're going to do is we're going to mix these colors together, just a little bit of the orange and a little bit of the rust together like this, and we're basically going to create this slight bit of corrosion, a rusty orange color like this. A little bit more orange. There we go. Just like that. And now we're going to go ahead and transfer this color to the top here. Very lightly though. I'm not going to try to do this too heavily, as I don't want to, you know, make it look too heavy. I am trying to keep this as a semi-new, but still have a little bit of age on it, so I'm not trying to overdo this. So just a little bit, and what you do is you kind of start at the top and then you kind of start to work it down like this, and just really gently. I think what I'll do for this is I think I'm going to do it like this on this side, but then kind of go a little bit easier on the other side, just to kind of keep things simple. Also adding a little bit of variety to it. So you just want to work it down really gently. Get a few little spots. Just like that. Now we're going to focus back on the top here. And I'm going to take some of this acid and then kind of try to make the area where it actually spilled over in the corner of this hatch here, as you can see. Just like that. And here's our trucks. The nice thing about these Athearn Genesis roller bearing trucks is that the roller bearings actually do operate, which is really nice, as you can see. So we're going to try to enhance that detail in a minute, but what I'm basically going to do to start is do the base coat of weathering for the trucks. Again, using my earth brown and a little bit of black, we're going to go over these. And it doesn't take that much to cover them, so you just go easy on these. You got a really moreover grimy black color here that I'm applying. You can see you just start in the corners, work it around the springs and the areas here. It covers really well, which is nice. And then you kind of work it around the tops, and then onto the area around the part where it connects to the bolster pads on the car. We'll flip it around here, hit this top as well, and we're going to get a little more paint. Just real quick. Mix it up. And we'll repeat this on this side. Just like that. Flip her upside down and hit the very bottoms. I want to try to cover just about every nook and cranny of these trucks. On a tank car, it's very important that you get every square inch of the truck covered with your weathering. Otherwise, you'll have areas where you might skip, and that doesn't look right. On a tank car, the trucks are the most visible part. They stand out on both ends, whether it's the front or even underneath. So it's really important to weather the trucks fully. And for the axles, I'm just going to take a brush again, and I'm just going to hit them with our rest like this. I'm just going to dry brush them like this. just like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to paint the wheels and the wheel faces our earth brown color as an earth tone to finish this up. And I'm not going to show this time around. If you watched my first video of how to weathering, you saw how I weathered my trucks. So I will come back though to show what I'm going to do to these in a minute though, to show you a little more detail to enhance these working roller bearings on these trucks. So I'll go ahead and weather the wheel faces and we'll come back. So as you can see, we now have the trucks weathered. The wheel faces are painted the earth brown, and on each side of the wheel. Everything is pretty much done here. Now, like I wanted to do, I want to enhance the look of these working roller bearings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically recreate like new bearing caps. Possibly these wheels were changed is an idea I'm kind of thinking of. And usually if they're, sometimes in some occasions, sometimes the new bearing caps might be blue. So to recreate this, I have a mixture of sky blue or island blue, Anita's acrylic, island blue is what I'm using, and then a mixture of the cobalt, also Anita's acrylic. And I'm going to take these two and mix them together. Now a fresh bearing cap is a very dark blue, but after a while they fade, they get all greasy and stuff. So I'm going to actually make this a slightly lighter color. So I'm just going to mix them together like this and get a little more blue. Actually going to lighten it up a little. Something like that is what I'm going for. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to paint the roller bearings with it. You can see how good that looks doing that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show this process the whole way through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weather the other truck here, paint all the roller bearing caps blue, and then we'll go ahead and add some highlights in a second. And now, as you can see, we fully weathered our trucks. We painted the roller bearing caps, we did the axles, so we got a really nice looking pair of weathered trucks. Now we're going to enhance these even further with our highlight weathering, which is basically when we take our large brush like this, dip it in a little of our white, and we're just going to dry brush this onto the models to enhance and make the details pop out. So we'll get in a little close. I'll zoom in on this one. Maybe not that close. There we go. Just take a little bit of our white and we'll go it like this. The tops, the bearing caps, at the top of the bolster, and we'll move on to this side. Going a little light on this side though, again to add a little more variety. And next what you want to do is to take it like this, zoom out here a little bit, and I'm just going to hit the axles kind of like that. So now, see how awesome those look. Doing these details, like the painting the roller bearing caps and then doing the dry brush weathering, really enhances the detail, and you can see those roller bearing caps moving like that. That's really, really nice. So we'll go ahead and repeat this on the other truck, and we'll put it back on the model. And here they are on the model. Awesome, ain't they? They look really, really good. Now, while we still have our white out and we're doing our highlight technique, we'll go ahead and hit the ends here with a little bit of dust. I'll move these trucks out of the way, and we're just going to hit the couplers with our white like this. Take a dust them off. Get the air hose, top, and the bottom. And we'll repeat this on the other side here. It really doesn't take that much paint to do this, so that's nice. And it really enhances the detail of the coupler to do this. Now we're going to finish up this car by adding the safety stripes, and for this I'm going to be using decals this time rather than my reflective safety tape, because on the tank cars, since the reflective tape I use is kind of thick, you can kind of see it like on the smooth sides of a tank car, and plus it's round so it stands out more. On box cars, hoppers, stuff like that, you can't really see that, but on a tank car you can. So for the sake of things and simplicity, I'm just going to be using the decals. So I'll go ahead and show you how I apply these to the model real quick, and then we'll finish up and add a little graffiti to it. Okay, so I'm using the decals here again for the stripes on this car, and I've already had them cut out to size, and I'm just going to apply them to the model like this. You just do this one stripe at a time. I'm going to grab one from my bowl here. This one's a little beat up, but that's alright. Put it about right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply the solvent, the model decal solvent solution. This basically cuddles up the decals to the sides of the car so that they stay in place. And I'll go ahead and add the basically satin finish, which basically glues the decal in place. And this one actually moved a little. That's alright. It happens sometimes. On a smooth surface like this especially. And you just apply it real carefully. We'll go over this car later with some dull coat, final coating, and it'll seal up the decals, cover up the film too, and basically blend all our weathering together as well. And now I'm going to add a few tags here and there, and I'm totally making these up right now, which is fine. I'm just going to make kind of like a smaller tag, one that's kind of harder to discern usually. One of those more complex ones that usually looks like a bunch of lines. Something like this. I'll add another one here. I'm actually going to come in here now and add a red one to kind of mix things up a bit. I'm actually going to try to make this look a little faded. Just like this. And just for a little fun, I'm gonna streak it down a little, making it look like it's oversprayed in a few areas, and it kind of does that. And here it is. GATX 163060 is finally complete. We've used a variety of techniques, and thanks to our knowledge and prototype reference, we were able to accurately weather this car. I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and I hope it helped you to learn a few things when weathering tank cars. And again, I want to refer to, if anything in this video might have confused you, or you want a little more info on a certain technique I did, or anything along those lines, be sure to ask me. I'll do my best to answer your questions on this. So coming up next, we'll be focusing on box cars and a few other little cars, most likely miscellaneous rail cars later on. So in the meantime, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care.